Hi, my name is Kristen, and I'm a leadership and business coach to values-driven entrepreneurs who want to lead wildly successful, values-driven businesses and live rich and fulfilling values-driven lives. And today, we're going to talk about one limiting belief that really does make the difference and separates out those entrepreneurs that do have those wildly successful businesses and live those wildly successful lives, and those that only want or wish for it. So what is this limiting belief? It is perfectionism, the mother of all limiting beliefs that as an entrepreneur is deadly to your business and to you and your sanity if you really want to play big and take on things that you've never done before. So today we're going to take a look under the hood and look at what actually is behind perfectionism and why is it present for so many people. And don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm also going to give you some practices if this is a limiting belief for you to support you in strengthening the muscle around getting over perfectionism and having you step out of this fear of failure. So that's where we're going. If you're new to this channel, welcome, and don't forget to subscribe because there's weekly videos coming out every week to help you activate your inner leader. And don't forget, this is just one of many videos in a series around limiting beliefs. So if you haven't watched the other videos, make sure to check those out afterwards, and I'll link those in the cards as well as in the notes below. Okay, let's dive in. Okay, so first things first, let's define what perfectionism really is. There's no better person to go to on this other than the queen on this subject, Brené Brown. So Brené Brown talks about perfectionism and distinguishes it from healthy striving or wanting to move towards excellence. She talks about perfectionism and striving as very different things. And I'm sure if you're an A-type high performer, that is good news to you, because this idea of not striving or not working towards excellence is probably a little bit disconcerting. But that's not what we're talking about with perfectionism. Perfectionism is really the belief that unless you are perfect, unless you show up and live perfectly, be perfectly, act perfectly, you are not worthy. And that it really comes down to not being seen or not wanting to be seen, fear of being seen. And the impact of that as an entrepreneur is huge, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you are your brand. So imagine now, and maybe you don't have to imagine, maybe this is you. You are your brand and you're not wanting to show up and be seen because you think in order to be seen and show up fully, you have to be perfect. You have to show up in this perfect package or you have to nail it the first time. It might look like launching a course. It might be as simple as a social media post. But when you believe that the only way to be successful is to absolutely nail it, what happens is you don't actually take the next step. You don't actually even play. And an amazing analogy that I like to share when it comes to this is around a dartboard. So imagine a dartboard and imagine playing darts, but the only way you were willing to take a shot was if you knew you were going to hit the bullseye. There is no fun in that game at all. And the possibility of you being successful and feeling successful is very, very small. When you open up your possibility to be like, I'm okay with wherever that dart lands, I'm gonna do my best because there's gonna be learning in the process and I'm gonna get better and better as I grow. That is where real growth happens. And that's where you can actually make movement towards having that wildly successful business and living that rich and fulfilling values-driven life. So when we're talking about perfectionism, it's not about not striving, not going after those big picture goals. It's really around how you do it and being okay with creating a bit more space to play, to have some joy, and to be able to experiment with all of the things that come along with that journey. Okay, so what the hell do you do about this? Say perfectionism is something that you struggle with or something that you're challenged by. What do you do with it? Well, the first step, like all of these limiting barriers and beliefs, is first to create an awareness around it. So bring to mind where perfectionism is actually holding you back. So where are you being held back where you're not taking the shot where you know you really want to be taking that shot? Take a moment to think about that, journal on it, do whatever you need to get clear on the cost of perfectionism to you and your business. The flip side of that cost is around fear of scarcity and saying yes to things that you actually should be saying no to. These are the things that have you playing safe, that have you not really stepping out of your comfort zone because you know that you can do them and that you can show up and look good. Those are just as detrimental to your success as the areas that you're not taking shots on. So take a moment to journal around those two questions or reflect on those two questions. Where are you not taking shots that you know you really should be and you really want to be? And two, where are you taking shots that you actually should probably let go and you should say no to because they aren't in alignment with what your big picture vision and your big picture goals are? Okay, so hopefully now you have a little bit of awareness around how perfectionism is holding you and your business back. So now it's time to choose a new way. So there's a lot of different things we could talk about here, but I want to pull out one resource and one distinction that I think will serve you well. And it's the distinction between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Carol Dweck, author of Mindset, makes this distinction beautifully and in tons of detail, so I highly recommend going to check out her work. But in its essence, people with a fixed mindset believe that their abilities are never changing, that they're fixed, that they can't actually get better at something if they don't know how to do it, and that they see failure as a reflection on their own shortcomings. So no wonder when failure comes up, they don't like it or they want to avoid it altogether. Now, this is a huge piece when it comes to perfectionism. This link between a fixed mindset and perfectionism is huge. When you believe that you cannot change, when you believe that failure is a bad thing, you're not going to do it. And that's essentially what perfectionism is all about. It's around believing that I have to be a certain way, that I have to have it all figured out, otherwise I'm not good enough. So the alternate to fixed mindset is a growth mindset. And a growth mindset, as you probably already know, can be cultivated. It can be created. It's just a practice. People with a growth mindset believe that everything is figure-outable and that failure is actually an opportunity to grow and learn, and they see it as something that's interesting and they get curious about it. They also believe that their skill set and their abilities can change and that they can cultivate and do anything and be anything that they want. So you can probably start to see how this mindset can really serve you when it comes to overcoming perfectionism and really stepping out of that fear of failure. So if you don't know right now whether you have a fixed or a growth mindset, no problem, I've got you covered. I've got a downloadable worksheet that you can download using the link below. It is called the Perfectionist Workout, and it'll give you a clue to which mindset you spend most of your time in. And this could be specific to different parts of your life too, so you can do it kind of for different parts of your life, and maybe just look at who you are as an entrepreneur in your business to start. Once you have an idea around where you fall, there's some workouts or practices that you can do to strengthen that growth mindset, to start to actually embrace failure and look at failure as an opportunity, or to see where your gaps are and where your skills need to be leveled up and see that as a fun opportunity as opposed to something that can't be done. And I'm telling you, this is one of the biggest differences in the people that I get to work with, the hundreds of entrepreneurs that I've had the opportunity to work with over the last 10 years, is having this fixed mindset versus this growth mindset. Because the reality is failure is part of the game. Taking risks and stepping into things that you've never done before is part of the entrepreneurial journey. And building that growth mindset makes it way more enjoyable and actually achievable. All right, so it's time to get into action. What is one thing that you can do today that would have you take a shot somewhere that you have been holding back? So it can be big, it can be small, but the key here is that you're getting into action right away. It would be amazing if you'd comment below, because as you know, just taking that first step and actually writing it down makes it real. So go ahead, comment below with the one thing that you're taking a shot on, that you know you should, but you've been holding back. Now, also, don't forget to download that perfectionist workout worksheet, and that's going to help you with practices to really overcome this limiting belief. And know that this is a process. It's not going to be a check mark, a done kind of thing. It happens over time, and it's an always rinse and repeat type of practice that you come back to over and over again. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it, share it with some friends, and make sure that you come back next week to see next week's video on the last limiting barrier and belief we're going to cover in this series.